Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to episode 113 of the Game Brew podcast. Just wanted to let you know that we recorded this episode before news broke this past Wednesday about the lawsuit that the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing filed against Blizzard Activision for widespread gender-based discrimination, sexual harassment, and sort of a frat boy workplace culture. So although we do talk a lot of shit about Blizzard in the second half of this episode, spoilers, we don't talk about that particularly. It's something that's important to us, and we will certainly be coming back to it in a future episode, but we didn't have that news yet, so we didn't talk about it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the show, and if you are interested in hearing more about Blizzard, tune in to our future episodes. Thanks.
So I have my dog in here. We'll see how that goes. I don't have a babysitter for her.
Yeah, I think it's a nice...
It's a trio.
It's a nice...
It's a quartet!
It's not gonna work.
It's a borktet!
It's not gonna work. The second my mom opens the door, this is gonna happen. Okay, let me go resolve this. Give me a second. Sorry.
Bork, bork!
Bork! Bork! I'm a dog! Bork! Listen, Bork! Hey! Hey! Listen!
Hello and welcome to episode 113 of the Game Brew podcast, the bi-weekly video game podcast where we sip delicious beers, discuss video games, and I am your host, Ian Squirtle Richard, and I'm joined this week by Dan Psyduck Rotz and Allison Gyarados Van Dievender.
Can I talk about the fact that they've changed Gyarados into a non-dragon type, and that's just really frustrating for me personally. I just want to put that out there.
No, he's always been a flying water type, hasn't he?
I thought he was a dragon type in the early games.
No, I think he was like water and flying.
That's what he is now. I was playing Pokemon Shield, and I got very upset because I swore he used to be dragon, but maybe
apparently he was dragon instead of flying in beta.
Oh.
There you go. This week on the show, we'll be talking about the wettest, wildest video games on the market. And in the second half, Allison is going on a rant fest. Fun times. It's going to be great. I'm excited.
2021.
It's going to be great. Before we do that, it's time for a non-beer because Chris isn't here.
I love that it rhymes. And that
Dan, what are we drinking this week?
Oh, this week we are getting White Girl Wasted. We are drinking a delicious bevy of White Claw beverages. Yes, everybody's favorite malted seltzer alcohol beverage.
We're very basic.
Type.
So Allison, go ahead and crack those bad boys open. Ain't no laws when you drink claws.
There are still most laws when you're drinking claws.
No, there's not. This is Game Brew fact.
There's
So Dan, what flavor do you have there?
Okay. I have blackberry.
Oh, we all should have started with the same. I didn't think about it.
So I actually have an
It's
assortment here, and I'm going to tell you why in a moment.
Okay, but I have blackberry. Honestly, it tastes a lot like blackberry. It's a very fruity.
That doesn't bode well
delicious
for my
beverage.
hypothesis.
I feel very hydrated.
Oh.
And Allison, what are you drinking over there?
Mango, because I thought it was very summery.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
So I grabbed that one first. It's yummy. I mean...
I know. Like, the hard seltzer thing is all like, yeah, duh. Like, we've been doing this for years. Like, put vodka in drinks that don't have vodka in them. Like, get with the program, kids. Like, what have you been doing?
I think the appeal of these though is one, they're in
an attractive can, yes.
Yeah. But also,
and who can turn down an attractive can? I can't.
Yeah. I mean, but also it's like, I don't know. It doesn't feel as heavy. Well, like when you're drinking these, you can put these away, you know. With beer it starts to sit in you, so you start to be a little bit like, oh, I've had a lot of beer. With these, you could be like, I just drank 12 White Claws.
Except I would be like, I don't even know why.
No, you'd be white girl wasted. So you'd be like, I just drank 12 White Claws. And I just love you guys so much.
I do get that way when I do get drunk, though. That's true. That is how I get. Okay, so my experiment with White Claw, because I've had a fair amount of White Claw. And I tend, just to be like completely brand honest here, I tend to actually prefer Truly instead of White Claw because there's less sodium in those. Oh my gosh. But my theory with this was that it's possible that the flavor of White Claw is more determined by the printing on the can and the color of the can and how your brain interprets that in your head than the actual flavor of the beverage itself. Because people do this. They just like make a sweet thing and like cover it in red wrapping and put a strawberry label on it. And like, it's strawberry. Like, it's not actually strawberry flavored. It's just like a red color. And your brain's like, oh yeah, I know what strawberry tastes like. And then you taste
as I said before, the Fruit Loops hypothesis, where it's like they all taste the same, but I swear the blue ones taste different from the red ones.
Exactly. So I'm now going to test that hypothesis. I have strawberry, blackberry, mango, and pineapple here on my tray, but I don't know which.
So my theory as you're tasting is all seltzer water, including these, tastes like TV static, hairspray, and like someone shouting fruit in another room at you. But you're not actually consuming it. It's like somebody just yells mango at you.
Pineapple!
Yeah, and you're like, oh, that's what this is supposed to be. Oh no.
What do you think, Ian? Which one do you think it is? You're taking very small sips.
He's swooshing. He's swooshing. He's doing the tasting drinks.
I'm gonna set. Okay, well, I'm gonna set that one aside.
If you had to guess,
if I had to guess, I'd say that one was mango.
Mango.
So that's farthest to the right currently. Okay, number 2.
Oh,
their label on the bottom, but I'm not looking.
Don't look at the label.
Okay, so this one is different. This one tastes like something. That one didn't taste like anything. Hold on. This one I would say blackberry.
It's fairly strong of a flavor, so I think
that one you can kind of taste. All right, so far we have what? Mango and blackberry. Okay, here we go, number 3. I'll cut the time out of this. Don't worry.
No, I want to hear every sip that you take.
This one straight up doesn't taste like anything. Hold on, let me try again. I need to aerate my test. Or you just do this.
Oh, there you go. That's a good noise.
This one kind of tastes like. This one tastes like if you like licked the floor in a Food Lion where someone had dropped some fruit.
So maybe that's strawberry then.
Like they dropped fruit on your toe and you were like, oh.
I'll just lick it up.
Oh, that's actually pretty nasty. I don't like that. Number 3 is no, I don't like that. Please no.
Please no.
Help.
Please, I don't want it.
All right. So what do we have so far? I've forgotten again.
We said mango,
something,
blackberry,
strawberry. Oh, mango, blackberry. Yep. You're right. Please, no, please, and. I think we got problems now because I'm pretty sure this is mango.
Which means so that means the strawberry and the pineapple are up in the air.
Yeah.
I think the first one you said tasted like nothing. I'm going to say that is probably pineapple.
Okay. So then pineapple, blackberry. What is please no please then? Strawberry. Mango.
Okay.
Okay, let's test and see. Ready? Drum roll, please. The first one was pineapple. Good job, Dan. How did Dan know? Originally, I thought it was strawberry.
Because there are some people who are immune to pineapple flavored things where they're just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. It tastes like, normal.
All right, blackberry was indeed blackberry. Yeah. I would say if you are digging through a cooler of White Claw, then if you want one that tastes like something, blackberry. Followed by strawberry.
That's what I thought.
Was please no please.
Yeah, because strawberry, that's like, I don't like strawberry in my smoothies or anything like that because it's an overpowering flavor that I don't like all the time. Unless you give me a strawberry covered in chocolate or you take the strawberries, you dip them in sugar. I don't like it.
Yeah, but it didn't even
that's the thing. I like strawberries. And I like, but oftentimes artificial strawberry tastes really bad. And when I was picking these variety packs, Ian and I actually split a variety pack. So I had the choice of getting one that had watermelon in it or strawberry. And I find watermelon artificial flavor is more like awful. Oh no, you're making a concoction.
Yeah. Watermelon.
Yeah, he's doing alchemy.
All of them together. This is going to be horrible. And so
it's just going to taste like Fruit Loops.
Like
That's what it's going to taste like.
That's the only one that had flavor.
Diluted blackberry flavor.
Now I'm interested. Let's see.
You know what? This does not. So I combine them all together. It does not taste meaningfully different than any of them. It's making me a little bit sad.
It still tastes like White Claw, and I think that's the pervasive thing. It does. White Claw tastes like White Claw.
Tastes like White Claw.
A variety of different fruits.
Well, that was a fun experiment. I'm glad I did that. I feel like I learned something today.
I'm glad you did too. Thank you, Ian. You're a tribute to humanity.
I am. I should call Bill Nye and be like, Bill, you need me.
He'd be like, can you solve global warming?
Can you also ask him if he's
like,
willing
nope.
to marry me? Because I'm in love with him. And he is now single,
check.
so
Yeah,
not
totally.
that I know that.
He is?
Yeah. He got a divorce.
Oh my gosh.
So
Mrs. Nye, what did you do?
I don't
Good
know.
for
He's
him.
waiting for me, I assume. So we just need to get him in the know that I'm available for
I'll start sending some
marriage.
emails. I'll send some emails. Be like, hey, Bill, it's me, Dan. Dan Routes. Just want to see if you'd be interested in coming on the Game Brew podcast. He comes over. It's just you in a room with a candlelit dinner
and a robe. I mailed him his dinner.
It's like
perfect.
Mrs. Robinson who just was like, why, Miss Van Deventer, what are you doing?
Does this speak to my strange taste right now? One of my deep loves is Bill Nye, and I would absolutely marry him.
No, we grew up in the 90s.
Not at all.
Like Bill Nye's like my cool uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's smart.
He's
tall.
husband material.
He's science.
Yep.
He knows
He
science.
has plenty of common sense. He's an
That's true.
activist. I approve. Yeah. He's
Yes,
my type.
exactly. Yep.
And Ian, I would like to amend. I didn't say he knows science. I said he science.
He science hard.
He science all day.
I see.
All night. Science all
day.
time.
What are we doing? How have we just spent all this time on nothing? What just happened?
Because this is...
We spent this time on
This was science.
Allison.
Again, Ian, he's science.
I haven't even been running
science.
a timer. We're in trouble. Go.
It's fine. So speaking of losing time, I spent the better part of my evenings this week playing a game that I didn't expect to spend so much time on, but I did. It was called Power Wash Simulator.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I got it.
Did anyone power watch you doing it?
No one power watched me doing it, but
Dan, is this a clean game or a dirty?
It starts dirty, gets clean. So I looked up how much time I've spent in the last 2 weeks playing this game. I spent 16 hours playing Power Wash Simulator.
Did you feel like pressured to play it?
I think I did. And in fact, in the game, they say it's like, oh, hey, by the way, figured out that you're actually not power washing things. You're pressure washing because you're using cold water. So, maybe you should change your name of the business to that because...
Dan, did you do any streaming while you were playing this game?
So in this game, basically you find a power washer and then you use it to clean off your van. And then you take jobs power washing things around Muckington. Yes, Muckington is the name. It's a British town. The way there were things spelled, and I washed a car and it said there was a boot, so must be British.
Yes.
I know that a hood is called a bonnet. I know.
Yes, exactly.
Few little kickers like that.
But it's really satisfying. It starts out like you just have a power washer, you wash off your car, then you get more money so you can get more tips. Different tips for your power washer to do so you could do stuff. You can get longer extensions so you can stand further away from stuff and still clean off as much.
Wow.
It's as I said, starts with the van, then you clean some guy's backyard, you clean off power bikes. The one that took the longest, I think, was I was cleaning off a fire station. I started doing that one at about 9:30 at night, and then I was like, all right, I think I did it. And I looked at the clock and it was 3 a.m. It's just so satisfying.
How much of it is a game and how much of it is an OCD
it really is an OCD simulator. It has even little, you could pull up this little tablet that you have and it tells you what percentage of what part you have cleaned if you haven't finished it. So it's it is about cleaning everything. So in order to complete a level in the career mode, which I finished, it's still in early access now.
Yeah.
So there's going to be more levels and stuff, but I have finished the entirety of the career mode. Blah, 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 blah. For now. Blah, blah, blah. For now.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like getting every spot, cleaning every little speck of dirt, all the graffiti, responding to jobs. And there's this little, the best thing though is there's this little text screen. So like on the side where people are like sending you messages while you're doing it. And most of the time it's like if you're doing a job for someone, they're sending you messages while you're doing it. So like while you're cleaning this guy's car, he's like, yeah, I want to drive. It's like, yeah, I want to drive that thing around down by the river later. And then you get another. He's like, no, he's not actually going to drive by the river. I've convinced him not to do that. And he's like, don't miss that spot. That spot you got right there on the wheel. That's a good one. And he's like, he's going to stop bothering you now. And then there's like a conspiracy about the mayor's cat being missing, but is not actually missing. Wow. He's doing it for political power. So.
It's good. It's good that they like have the sim thing going on, but they're not taking it so seriously that there's no like little chuckle that this is like a power washing simulator, because that's funny. That's inherently funny.
I mean, honestly, it's a really satisfying game to play. It's developed by Future Lab, who also did PC Building Simulator, which Chris has. So they would so he would probably like it too.
Well, that's cool. Allison,
I haven't been
what
doing
about
anything.
you?
I'm so sorry. I have nothing to talk about. I played a little more of It Takes Two with Carrie this week on stream. And other than that, I've played a little League of Legends. Oh no, I have one thing I can talk to you guys about. Okay, so last week I talked about Metrosphere. I don't know if that's how you say it.
Yes, which I downloaded and installed.
Sorry. It's awful. Like I had really high hopes for it in the beginning, because it's gorgeous. It was entertaining. It felt like it wasn't pay to win. It's something you could actually get rolls for regularly on items, and it didn't seem too terribly unfair. And then all the huge, terrible pieces of gacha games kind of started showing themselves. So it's like I could get weapons, which was good because like that's the basis of fighting in these games. But the armor drop rate is so percentagely small that you just can't get these items.
So you just kind of get
so
stuck there.
Yeah. You get stuck there. I was getting really frustrated with that. And then I actually crunched the numbers for rolling in these, what percentage chance I had to get the armor. And it was so minuscule that I was just like, I was really frustrated at that point. But, I try to let it go. I'm like, they'll probably release an armor gacha later. That's probably what they're trying to do, is get people to put money in right now to get armor. So I'll just wait. And I was going to look past that. But then like although this is a game where you can play with people, there's no need to. And that absolutely just kind of made me all but drop it right now, unless they release something. And I would forgive this more, I think, if it was actually a new game, but it's been out in I don't know if it was Korea or China, that it's been released for several years. And did very well over there. So, when it came here and I saw how beautiful it was, I was like, yeah, I'll give this a shot. I'd love something easy to play with my friends. I've been looking for something like that, And yeah, you have no need to play with each other. So unless they start releasing like guilds or really good like raid level content in this game where you need to have competent people with you, I don't see me playing this. So, womp. Sorry.
Is this a mobile game?
It is. It's a mobile game, mobile gacha game.
By Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll. The story was meh. The whole thing was very like reverse harem, harem, actually straight harem, where all the characters that you interact with on a meaningful basis are female and very like certain roles, and they're barely wearing clothing. And so like
by Crunchyroll, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's Crunchyroll, right? And it's I was just kind of looking past all of that, whatever. But there's nothing there. There's just no content. There's nothing.
Yeah, it's I'm curious, Allison, have you played Genshin Impact at all?
No, I've watched Kyrios play it a lot on his stream, but I've never personally played it because I feel like it suffered from the same thing that a lot of these games do, where I would get very bored very quickly.
I don't know. Consider giving it a try. I really enjoyed it for a while because there's a lot of content there, and it is really very much like a fun sort of like log on, knock out a couple quests, go beat up a couple guys, like do this, do that sort of game. And it succeeds at that very well without requiring you to buy into Gachaland unless you really want to have like the most OP people possible, which I feel like is fairly generous, or at least it was back when I was playing close to release.
Can you play with friends, and is the friend play meaningful? That's what I'm missing.
No, that's where Genshin fails.
Right, and that's where this
wants
fails.
Friends.
I want to have friends. Please be my friends.
Well, then come over so we can play Gloomhaven, and that will be that.
Okay. Yes.
Speaking of friends, I discovered that in Code Vein, I haven't beaten it yet, but it seems that the way that I'm going to save the world is through the power of friendship.
Yeah.
Which, for a game about sexy anime vampire people, is not at all what I expected.
Sexy anime future vampire people.
Also,
you can be sexy and friendship be your main power.
I mean,
it's a thing.
It seems to be a thing. I don't know if that's vampire specific or sort of just like any species, but
it's more like a Dungeons and Dragons trope, if I do say so.
I've been playing Code Vein for a couple of weeks now. I'm at the cusp of the end. I'm at like the beginning of the end of this game, and it's only just now starting to get repetitive. But I will say the boss fights are getting better as I go along. I think the first one they made like difficult to try to be Dark Souls, and then after that they were super easy for a while, and now they feel balanced and right. So they kind of found their stride a little bit later on, but the environments are continuing to sort of iterate on things I've seen before, and sort of the enemies. So
yeah, the environments and the enemies kind of stay the same. Specifically like the enemies, because it's like there's the base group of enemies, and then every once in a while there's like one thing that might be a little different, but in general it's still the same as most of the other ones.
And you finished this game, right, Dan?
No, I got bored because of the sameness with it.
Yeah. See, I'm at the point where like I'm like I understand the sameness, and I'm like, okay, it's fun enough to continue to play while it's samey. I'm good with it.
I think the story is the thing that kind of kept me into it, because it is very much like an anime. So where it has like these arcs, and different characters have arcs. Yeah. And like as you go through, you figure out more stuff about
people get redeemed, and you find out that, you know, like characters are really like not reincarnations, but they're like imbued with a power, and they have a role in the larger story, but you didn't know at the beginning, but you probably should have, because, you know, like anime stuff. But it's good. It's fun.
Also, that anytime that you have the like story reveal stuff, you're in that other world, and it has like the sad backstory music going on.
There's so much sad backstory in this game. It's kind of like it's a bit. If you took it very seriously, which to be honest, I can't, and I don't, because there's way too much like boobies for no reason. Boobies. Don't take this game serious.
Boobies are always reasoned. There's always a reason for boobies. Don't you dare.
But if you did take it seriously, it would be very sad. But it's not sad at all. It's fun. It's fun to play. It's like the game that I'm trying not to think too hard about, because if I do, I'll probably get angry about it. But it's fun.
Don't dig too deep into it.
Speaking of something that's not too deep, our first topic is all about games that are wet. That's right. We're cooling off this week with a selection of games that will quench your thirst and leave you soaking wet with enjoyment.
Whoa.
It's about watery. It's about watery games. So just like this is
I was
going to say
it's like Leisure Suit Larry. I don't know.
It's a family podcast.
No, it's not.
So I think can I just talk about my game first? Is that okay?
Yeah, if you want.
So the watery game that I was playing is called In Other Waters. It actually has water in the title. H2, oh my god, it's great. This is
you're just the worst. I just want to say
I can't help it. The jokes, they just bubble up. it happens. So this is like, it's a narrative game. It's like kind of text-based, so it's not very gameplay heavy at all. So if you're a gameplay person, this is not a game for you. But it's like a story between an AI and a human explorer, an astronaut, who are together sort of exploring this really huge watery planet environment that's like teeming with life. So you sort of, the beginning is like you are the AI as the player, you're the AI, and you boot up and you're talking to the astronaut who's planet side, but who has like kind of no control over their own like suit. So you're kind of like moving them around and like doing things for them. And it's really good.
Interesting.
Like, I feel like the sound design in games like these is super important, because unless you're feeling, if you'll pardon the pun, immersed in the game.
Pardon all your puns. So it's.
I disagree. You're gonna stand trial for all of these. That's interesting. I'm just looking at the screen, and it's like, it looks very simple from what I can tell. Or the screen looks simple, but I can tell there's probably a bunch of stuff that's very complicated you have to do.
So the UI is kind of built so that none of the buttons are labeled, and it's as if you were like NASA mission control and you knew what all the buttons meant, but because they're not labeled, but you don't know what the buttons mean. So at the beginning, there's definitely a period of like, how does this work? And you're like just messing with things. And like kind of like you're just driving a rover around, except it's all underwater and underwater caves and reefs and different environments. So it's really cool, very immersive style. There's like a central mystery to it, which I won't talk too much about. But I really liked it. Like, I think it's fun. I think it's a really good game.
Nice. I always like whenever there's like, that's a very novel idea for a game. I really like games where it's like, you're not the main character, but you're like slightly adjacent to the main character.
Right.
Main character adjacent. So it's kind of like you're observing everything happening through the story and things being told to you.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. I like that. That's very neat. I'll have to take a look at this.
Yeah,
one.
it's really interesting. It's nice that, and there's like some light puzzling to it. It's like a little bit puzzly, which is cool, but it's really more about like, it's building a sense of curiosity. Like, I wonder what happens if I go over here. I wonder how this set of new alien life form interacts with this other set of alien life form, because they do a really good job of like building backstory, and there's like a codex that you can go in and read and like learn about like these different kind of stalks that like communicate with each other chemically, and each of them has a different role in the stalk colony.
Okay.
So just as an example, like, this game rewards you when you come to it with a sense of curiosity. And so if you're a person who just likes to like be like discovering things and you don't mind doing some reading along the way, I would definitely recommend this game. It's super fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. There's a game that I think is kind of interesting called We Need to Go Deeper. Have you heard of this? Have you heard about this? Anybody know about that?
I haven't heard about this.
So We Need to Go Deeper is a 2 to 4 player roguelike game where basically you're kind of in a Jules Verne-esque submarine and you're trying to like go deeper down.
Yeah.
And you have to like take care of your submarine as it's, so like you have to like keep making sure that the engine works. Somebody has to be piloting it. Every once in a while, if you run into something or something attacks you, you have to like use torpedo tubes or like repair holes and stuff like that as it happens. It's very difficulty, or like excuse me, it's very difficult. Yeah, it's hard. And then you can like disembark the sub every once in a while and go grab like loot and stuff so that you can keeping your sub going. But it's very interesting. The art style is kind of what's that survival game?
It's Don't Starve.
Don't Starve. Yeah.
It's got a Don't Starve survival sort of thing, sort of mixed with like a what is that game? Love in a Dangerous Space Time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, high stakes love in a dangerous space. Higher stakes love in a dangerous space time.
Yeah. It's did you play it with people, Dan, or did you solo it?
I have watched some people play it. I have tried to play it and I'm not good at it, but but I've watched a bunch of people play it, and it just looks like a lot of chaotic fun with like a group of multiple people, because you always kind of have to be like, no, go over here. I need to just go plug the holes. I need to play. Oh God, there's crabs in this ship. And
yeah.
It was like, we're flooding. There's water.
Yeah, this seems like it would be one that would be really fun to play with friends, but otherwise might be kind of.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's very difficult otherwise. So I saw that. I thought that was very interesting. If you're terrified of the water, you might not want to play it, but.
I think that's the cool thing about like water as a gaming mechanic and movie mechanic, really, just any kind of visual mechanic in those formats. It's one of two things, right? And I'm going to be hyper nerdy right now and reference anime, but I think about like Demon Slayer and water, all the water forms, right? So like
the water animation in
right
that is
right
so
and I think it kind of sums it up really well, where you can have something that's really scary and powerful, because water can be something like the 10th breathing form, Constant Flux, where it becomes like a dragon, and it's just like constant slashing, and that's the kind of scary chaos that water can be. And then there's like the 11th form that Giyu, my boyfriend, uses. He doesn't know yet either. It's very complicated because he's an anime character.
How are you going to explain him to Bill is what I want to know.
Bill's going to understand. So dead calm, when everything just goes silent and is just like a defensive and is like everything's tranquil. And I think that's the two things waters bring to these kinds of formats too in games, where you're either in a water area and it's soothing, or you're in a water area and it's scary, and it's meant to be, because it's either like the unknown is what we associate with water, like you're saying, like going down further, like the depths. Nobody really ultimately knows what's in the water when you go to a certain depth, because we haven't explored it all, right? So it's like the unknown and the fear that brings, or it can bring like a tranquil if you're in a soothing area, like where there's just springs, and like it brings one of the two to games. And I think that's a really interesting factor.
Some games actually do a good job toggling between them, and I don't know if that's where you were going next, but that is totally true.
I mean, do you have games that toggle really well that you can think of?
Oh, Subnautica, 1,000%.
Subnautica.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Because at one point it's like you're just kind of chill, just collecting coral, or like building a sub, and then all of a sudden you go to one of the part and there's leviathans,
right?
And it's like, oh God.
Right. I remember when I was playing that, Carrie talked me into starting it, and I was doing it on stream, and I was just like enjoying it so much. Because when I think of like water games, my ultimate water game will always be Echo the Dolphin on specifically the one that was on Sega Dreamcast.
Okay.
Sega.
Because that one was gorgeous, guys. So it was like Defender of the Future. And
that was the sequel of it.
Yeah, it is. But that's like the one that always resonates with me, because that game was like mind blowing when I played it for visual reasons. It was the most realistic looking game I had ever played on the Dreamcast. And I just loved existing in that world and exploring. And it was a hard game, guys. I don't know if anyone remembers the Echo the Dolphin games being as hard as they were, but they were hard.
Oh, the one on Sega Genesis, Echo the Dolphin, it started out, you're like, oh, I get it, I'm a dolphin, get the things, do the stuff, right? And then it was like, oh my God, it's so hard.
Right. But it was that game where, like, even though I don't think I was competent enough to finish those games at that age, I was still playing them, and I just lived in the world that game created. It was so beautiful and fun to just swim around in and be a dolphin. But that's like my quintessential water game whenever I think of one, because that was my first real big love.
Nice. A dolphin. I got it.
Okay. But yeah, when Carrie had me play Subnautica, I think I just totally distracted myself from my original topic. When she had me play it, I was enjoying the world like I do in Echo the Dolphin, which is where I got sidetracked. And then And then she was like, yeah, it's going to get intense here in a minute. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
It gets scary and difficult. That game goes a place.
Yeah, I had no idea. So then I'm like really intimidated going over to the ship or the wrecked area and stuff. And I'm just like, what's going to pop out? And I'm stressed the whole time. So that game took a big turn really fast where I was just like wandering around and finding sea creatures into like scary things.
Have either of you played the sequel that's in early access? Sub-Zero, I think it's called.
Mm-mm.
No, I
didn't even know there was one.
Yeah, so they did a new one that's sort of like in frozen underwater land, which is an interesting shift. But that game goes to place. I think like I would have played a lot more Subnautica. It's funny actually if that game was multiplayer and I could bring other people with me.
I agree.
I would have been brave enough to go into the cave.
Yeah. Carrie and I were talking about that when I played. I said it lends so well to be a multiplayer game. I just don't know why it was never implemented. Guess they just never considered doing it, but I feel like it would have played better that way.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll add an expansion or something like that. That would be interesting.
Would be interesting. Dan, wait, did you already talk about your wet game, Dan?
Well, I talked about some wet games. I do want to kind of piggyback off Allison's topic, saying that the ocean is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I have this fear of big open spaces where I can't see. Space and the ocean are two places I never want to go, ever. Because it's terrifying. If you get lost there, you could die. Just because you're lost in space or you're lost in the ocean.
Oh, I remember this moment in Firefly.
What?
There's this whole like thing about the void.
Yeah.
And like understanding and being one with the void.
Oh, yeah. I didn't remember that. But also, yes, it's that. It's where I don't want to do that because it's too scary. Yeah. It's too scary. Too spooky for me.
It's fine. That's Jane's opinion too. I get it.
I think that's kind of it too. It's like that's why I really like these games. So I don't even like to go to the beach because I don't want to put my toes in the water and have something touch my toes and me not know what it is.
Oh my gosh.
I always assume it's a kraken. Like,
what if it's me?
I'm going to assume you're a kraken, and I'm probably going to kick you in the face. So, like I don't know. Like, I like games like Abzu, where it's nice and chill, and I get to explore this world. But the second it gets like really intense, it's too stressful. I don't want to deal with it because that's too close to my normal, like everyday fear of the water.
Would you say your fear is pretty consistent, or does it like come and go in waves?
I can't with you.
You need to stop now.
Do you have a book of these, or are you just doing this off the top of your head? I didn't understand
for a second. I thought that was a serious question, and then I remembered it's Ian, and it's not.
I'm sorry. That was total sandbar on my part.
Shut your stupid face holes. Right.
What do we think about like genuine horror usage of
water?
Of water, like Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Has anyone played that other than me?
Amnesia: The Dark Descent isn't necessarily water.
Well, I mean, there's an invisible creature like that's following you through flooded corridors, and it literally uses the water as like your mechanic to know what's going on with the creature.
Well, that's. In one section, there is that. Yes, there's like there's like an invisible creature, basically, that is in the water. So you have to avoid it. And that's pretty scary.
And then there's like BioShock, although not necessarily full horror game, like creep factor.
I think BioShock is interesting because it uses the ocean and the water as a way to, and I love this also, it uses it a way to be like, you are confined, you know, where it's like, and Soma did this too, right. where it's like, it's not necessarily scary because of the water, but it has this kind of, there's no escape sort of mentality. Like there's not a way to leave. You're surrounded by water. There's no way for you to get anywhere. So you're kind of trapped. You're trapped in this situation without any way out. And it just really adds to the, I don't want to say scariness, but I do want to say
anxiety.
Tension.
I think it creates an
anxiety.
Right. And that was like one of the main things that I loved. Flipping over to talk really quick about movies again, about something like The Sphere, right? Where it's like, it's like this constant threat, but also, like Dan said, separating you from everything else. And also like occluding things. It's a very useful mechanic when it comes to creating scary stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it's often looked at in games like as beach scenes or like fun moments or
like Sea of Thieves or like Sid Meier's or something. Just like
Blitzball. You can't talk about this without talking about Blitzball. Like
Blitzball.
And that it's not. It's like water, but you could breathe it, so it's fine. You know?
Right. I think it's so funny how there are two devices in video games and other media, like movies and TV shows and stuff, that have the ability to instill every emotion. And those two things are either light or absence of, or water. I think like they're so multi-useful to give you different feelings. Like you change the color of the light and you feel a certain way. You have too much water and you're going to feel anxious, or like I think it's really interesting that those are the most overlooked mechanics, but the most impactful mechanics in all of those things.
And I think it also like it really plays on that, like the same thing. Like there's that sense of like space that's really scary, and like the depth, right? Yes. Because it's like it's the fear of the unknown, and so we see in it what we fear, right? We place our deepest fears in it. So you also see, like, it almost seems like something that doesn't make sense at first, but then like something like XCOM Terror from the Deep. Do you all know about this game?
I do not.
Is it Cthulhu based?
It was an XCOM, a first generation XCOM, not the new fancy ones, but a first generation XCOM follow up where it was all about like you were underwater fighting the aliens that were coming from underwater, because underwater is scary. So like it makes a lot of sense to me.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I get it. Totally get it. It's scary and it's wet and you don't know what's down.
Might be Cthulhu.
It's always Cthulhu.
It's always Cthulhu. Hey, who ate my pizza from last night?
God,
I think that was Cthulhu.
Damn it, Cthulhu. Now that you say it, I think the aliens from XCOM Terror from the Deep were like very Cthulhu inspired.
Yeah,
they're all
more
Krakens.
Than likely. There's a bunch of Cthulhu, like mediocre Cthulhu games out there right now that you could play. So.
We need a good one.
It's hard.
It's asking a lot.
It would be text-based. No one would play it except for Ian.
All right, well, the Ancient Ones are telling me it's time to wrap, so we're going to go ahead and do that. When we come back, Allison is going to go on a rant.
Yay!
Allison, have you been channeling your anger this week to prepare for this?
That's my secret. I'm always angry.
Same. There it is.
Never once have I seen her angry.
Stick with us. We'll see the She-Hulk rage. Hello and welcome back to the second half of the Game Bro game.
Whoa, let's try that again.
This is the Game Drunk podcast with White Claw Ian.
The Game Claw podcast.
Ian is officially White Girl Wasted.
The Game Claw Pod Brew with your host Ian Cratcher. That's me.
Chris would be so ashamed of us right now. I'm so glad he's gone.
Listen, I'm drinking strawberry, pineapple, mango, blackberry, White Claw. And so I can tell you for a fact that Chris would be proud.
No, he wouldn't.
I mean, kind of. But if you're listening right now and Chris asks you, we drank something called...
It's definitely a beer.
I don't know.
We definitely drank a beer.
And it was called...
The beer of beers.
The beer of beers. It was the beeriest beer we've ever had.
I got this.
Ellison's dead now.
Yeah, I
because she drank it too.
I had to go to the hospital. Guys, keep our secret. Keep it safe. Okay, Ian, do you want to try that intro again, or is that what we're going with?
No, that's what we're going with.
We'll go with that, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Ian, the one that you said had no taste, I really like the taste of the pineapple.
Which pineapple?
Really? Okay, interesting.
Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me.
There are some people who don't like kind of like there's some people who don't like cilantro.
I love pineapple
because it tastes like soap. You know?
See, I think cilantro tastes like soap, but I get it, and I'm into it.
Well, I don't get the soap, but I love it.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
So you would like that? If you tasted really what cilantro tasted like, it wouldn't. I
wouldn't know what it tasted like. It would be like, this is not soap, so it's not cilantro. I don't know what you want here.
Yeah, what are you asking me here?
It's like licking a rock, though. Like this tastes like a rock, but okay, I can get into rocks.
Contrarily, is that a word? contrarily.
Sure, be contrarily.
Why not? You said it. It's word now.
I tried the blackberry because you guys said it was good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it tastes awful to me. It tastes like someone screaming grape from me in another room. Like, not even blackberry.
So it's grape adjacent, though.
It's really
it's not actually.
And I hate artificial grape. So that's what it tastes like to me. It tastes like really like the Hubba Bubba grape. Like, it's like I'm chewing it, but I chewed it an hour ago and it's still in my mouth.
It is a bit aggressive, the blackberryness.
But it's not blackberry for me. It's just grape.
Really?
Really? I don't know.
I'm trying to think now if I had not been like predisposed to the name blackberry, if I had thought grape instead, would it have tasted like grape instead?
I definitely think blackberry.
I don't know.
I know what.
Maybe it's me.
I
Maybe
know what
we're
purple
all broke.
tastes like. Okay.
Maybe we're all broke, guys.
I don't know what's true anymore after White Claw.
It's like I'm swallowing Hubba Bubba. I don't like it.
Nom 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 nom.
Yeah, Allison, no, you're on a mission. And in fact, we've dedicated the whole second half of the show today to whatever it is that you feel like ranting about. So lay it on us.
So
when you go to sleep at night, what makes you grind your teeth?
Here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to start with this whole conversation is going to happen because of our listeners. Because I've had people come to me and say they want to hear me bitch more, which I think is really interesting.
You're just too nice. They're like, she can't be that nice. It's impossible.
I feel like...
And listeners, let me tell you, you're right.
She's very mean to us.
I'm kidding.
But I think that I complain a lot, actually. I feel like I'm the one who complains the most on the podcast. So I guess maybe I don't because people want to hear it more.
No,
or...
I'm 100% the whiniest one on the podcast.
I don't think so. I think it's Chris. I think it's anyone but me. It's basically that.
Oh my God, Dad. But like, so,
I'm so agreeable.
So this is happening because of that. I actually want to do a mini podcast episode with it, with Coffee, because he was one of the specific ones going for this. But he said he didn't know what he would talk about, and he was so we're doing it here. We're just going to do it here.
Do it live.
And we're going to deep dive into things I've like discussed little bits first that really make me angry and hit it a little harder. So the first thing is the thing that makes me most angry in gaming, period, right now is Blizzard. Thank you. You can sit.
Half
you don't
over,
have
right?
to. You don't have to stand and applaud. Gosh, guys, you're gonna embarrass me. Okay.
It was a reflex. I just popped out of my chair.
Sorry, the mandatory fun commissioner just took his shirt off.
I mean, that's my thing. But like, here's the thing about Blizzard. I think I loved them for so long, and I held them to a very high standard, I think, because of the quality of games they put out and what they claimed they stood for. And were very like open about being very like human rights oriented, and all of that was something they were a proponent of, allegedly.
Mm-hmm. Look at our characters; they're all so diverse and we're inclusive,
right? And they were pushing this like these characters that they were saying are LGBTQ, you know, and they're like, look at us entering these into our stories, and I wanted to love that. I wanted to love that was becoming normal. Although, and in our LGBTQ plus episode, you'll hear us kind of discussing this. It kind of felt a little forced or not genuine.
I think you might call that pandering.
Pandering, yes, very.
Or
pandering.
if we're talking about it in WoW, that would be Pandaria.
No, Pandarian.
Pandarian.
There we go.
But like,
which is much cuter.
So, you know, it wasn't perfect, but it's so sad that we'll take not perfect, right? Because eventually we'll get there.
It was something.
It
felt like someone...
They were trying.
It felt like someone was trying.
Mm-hmm. So it was definitely a pain point, but they said they stood for these things, and it looked like they were trying to. And then in 2019, we had, I don't even wonder what should we call it? Blitzchungate?
Sure, go for it.
That's a perfect. It is called that from now on.
It is called that from now on. Where they bowed to Chinese censorship, basically, in a really like disturbing way for me. So for those of you who aren't aware, a professional player of Hearthstone won a huge Grandmasters tournament, the highest level of the competition in the game, won a lot of money, And when he was being interviewed afterwards, he his name is Chung Wai, I'm pretty sure. And but Blitzchung is his name in game.
Yeah, it's his tag. Yeah,
his gamer tag. And he said, I think he was asked a question, and instead of actually answering, he just said, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our time," which was like the protest slogan of the city. And he was wearing goggles and a face mask, which were what the protesters wear to conceal their identity and try to protect themselves from prosecution.
Yep.
And these are protests that were over it was originally over a specific law about like extradition, and then it became bigger and became this whole thing about protecting the semi-autonomous city, democratic political system from mainland China trying to force control, right?
Right.
So huge thing. Like this is like something, in my opinion, that should be very cut and dry where a company out of America should stand. I don't know. That's just me. But they went down so hard on him. They made him forfeit all of his money. It was like thousands of dollars that he made over the year from tournaments. Not just that one. I think it was all the tournaments he had won that year.
That year, correct.
Wow.
They fired the casters who did nothing wrong but exist in interviewing this guy and not know what to do when he did this. They just fired the casters, which was crazy to me, extra crazy. And then like afterwards, they also banned other pro players who did the same thing, supporting the Hong Kong protesters. I think there was at least 3. I'm not sure if there were more, but and like Twitch users who did it and were in tournaments, like they just banned them all from being able to play the game any longer. So
yeah. And then, like, the more disturbing part about this is you can say, like, oh, well, this is just a video game. This is just a tournament. This is just one player. But what you see then, and then in the years following, is these tensions in Hong Kong and these protests just escalate.
Right.
And the Chinese government 100% shut them down because they know that as, like, Hong Kong is trying to sort of speak their piece and, like, talk about democracy and free press, that if that happens, then that's a threat to the authoritarian government in China, which is all like, okay, well, that's China, but also, sure, you're also paying companies, which is more or less like contributing to the Chinese government because companies are government owned in China.
Right.
And then to have an American company do that, it's even more like, fuck you guys.
Right, because they were so worried that the government would block their game if they didn't take this stance, which is the saddest thing that people are taking the money, and I know it's a company and I know it's a business, but there's a point where you have to realize that for what you claim to stand for and then to do this, like they've lost me as a consumer, period. Like I will never make a purchase from Blizzard until I don't even know how they could right this wrong at this point, right? We're 3 years late.
I think, sorry, I just interrupt real quick. I just think it is interesting because of, like, honestly, if you'd listened to probably one of our podcasts from back in 2019, like before any of that stuff happened, where we would talk about Overwatch and the inclusivity and like and like we were just like, oh yeah, it's great. And now it's just like, oh, that was just all hypocritical BS, you know? There's nothing that they like. If you don't uphold your values, like, what's the point, man? Come on.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the thing. It's like when you see a company's true colors and you see what they actually value over what they either claim to value because it's a good market for them, which I think, you know, being more open to those human rights problems makes them sell things better. Whereas this one, it doesn't affect them as much in their head, right? And maybe it really doesn't as far as their finances, because I don't think they're necessarily hurting right now.
Nope.
But for somebody like me, like who really pays attention to these things, because I don't think this was a big enough news point either. Just because I'm always in the gaming news, I think I knew about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think any of the like Blizzard things that have happened have made enough of a splash that they should have. I mean, you look back at the we've talked about this a little bit as well, but the what's his name, Bulatao, Blizzard hired to oversee like parts of Call of Duty. He was someone who worked in the Trump administration as like the undersecretary for something, but basically he was like Mike Pompeo's guy.
Yes.
And people describe him as like in the State Department as like this horrible person to work with, and he's the one who's supposed to be leading like diversity and inclusion at Blizzard. Like, get the fuck out of here! You hired someone from the Trump administration to lead diversity and inclusion at your company. Like, what? Like,
who was
get the
documented?
Fuck out. Who was
documented for bullying?
Yeah,
administration, other administration. Like, it's crazy. It's so gross. It's things that make my skin crawl that I just don't think are out there enough. And I know we reach so many people. So I'm so glad
our audience space is huge
that we're getting this word out there to all of you people, you beautiful humans. But I just think it's something that's really important. And I think the only thing that hurts these companies is their wallet. So as much as I am hyped and think that Diablo, the cinematic looks beautiful, and I was really stoked to play this game, I won't be because I'm not giving them my money.
Yeah.
What do you think that, and this is kind of this, I'm going to put my business Dan
put your business. No, this is good.
Gross.
We need counterpoint Dan, or else it's just all
business
of us
Dan is the worst.
I know.
Hold on, let me put on my pinstripe suit. I've got my tie on. But so, and in reference to like hurting the business of Blizzard, is it to a point where Blizzard and companies like this, because we're kind of seeing this with Amazon, where we see kind of like bad work conditions, we see like bad work practices, we kind of see like everybody seeing it's like, oh, this isn't really the most ethical company that could exist. But is it too big to fail? Like, is it is the company at this point too big, and do they have their hand in too many things for it to actually have something like this for people who's like, oh, I don't like that, so I'm going to stop playing? They're still going to get money from somewhere else. So is it that it's too big to fail?
I mean, Blizzard Activision, I think you make a good point that is such a large conglomerate that it's very likely that it will continue to exist in perpetuity, no matter how big this thing blows up, right? Because if you're not buying World of Warcraft, you're probably playing NBA, 2K, whatever. You know what I mean? On the other hand, I feel like businesses and companies do die. Like we're seeing with BioWare. Like, BioWare is just tanked really hard. And now, given that was because they made bad games, so it's not necessarily a perfect reflection of what we're talking about here. But that is like a large, well-known developer that exists under another publisher, obviously, that is going the way of the dinosaur because they failed their consumers. And I think if EA loses Blizzard as something that's productive, which it could, and I would argue probably should at this point, then that hurts their bottom line and they may change their tune.
I think you're right. And the Giants can fall. And I think their reaction to this shows that they're fearful.
Title.
Yeah. I think this reaction that they had to this specific incident shows that they fear that. Because if they didn't fear the money they're making in China and how that would impact their business so negatively because the population is so high there, I think that, we would have had a whole different conversation about Blizzard right now. And so I think that proves that, yes, but I think that's how people are thinking too, is what you're saying. Like, for me, it's like, I'm not going to buy their games anymore. Is that going to hurt them? No. It would take so many people taking that same stance for it to actually make an impact. And that makes it hard because it's like, I'm missing out on things I could be enjoying because I want to take this stance when I know my personal money won't impact them. But if enough people do the same thing, it will impact them. You know what I mean?
And now, and again, business Dan. But I'm going to draw a comparison to what you're saying versus what Ian was saying, because what Ian said was BioWare fail is like kind of failing because their product is becoming ungood. Whereas Allison is saying that Blizzard is bad, and business suit Dan off. I agree. Business suit Dan on. The product isn't bad from Blizzard. It's the company's stance and the things they're doing. So with BioWare, you've got a product that is bad. Whereas with Blizzard, you've got a company practices that are bad.
But
do you think that is kind of the problem? Whereas like the IPs and the things they're doing aren't hurting versus the stance that they're taking?
Right. I think not enough A, people know about it. And B, people care about their own, I'm going to be real with you, people care about their own personal experience over things that affect other people. So, and this is a tough thing for a lot of people to swallow, and I hope I'm not making people upset by saying this.
No, I hope you are.
I feel like everyone's going to hate me.
Off of your upsetness.
I feel like people are going to hate me, but like, it's really hard. And this is the same thing that happens with like race problems, with people who deal with problems with their own sexuality and people degrading them for it. And this, which is, you know, really a human rights issue in China that's coming into the game world, right? And people are just trying to express themselves and say, this is wrong, and we need to promote it, and we need to like say it on every platform we can. And being punished for it is crazy to me, because the general gaming consumer, let's say it's a cis white male who lives in America, they are not affected by any of these problems, any of them, including this one Blizzard has done in China. They're not affected by this. So because they're not affected by this, they don't care in that it doesn't affect them, so they can't relate, and they're going to keep giving Blizzard money. And I think it's hard to take the stance of somebody else's situation and say, this is so wrong, I refuse to give them money, and then the company would tank. But what I'm saying is, it's so hard to take that stance to not play a game you want to play when something doesn't really affect you, so you think it's okay to do. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's hard to put into words.
It does. And it's kind of where in video games, this kind of line, like there's no line between the creators or there is one, but it's very blurred between the people who actually create and work on the game versus the company which controls things about the game. So that's where I think it's kind of like there's still a lot of people who... Go ahead. No, go ahead. I want to hear what you say.
Well, what I was going to say is like, that is true, but that's also a thing where like you go to work there, so you know. And this was, how much do I want to get into my former work? I don't know how much I want to get into my former work, but what I'll say is places I've worked before, I've worked at a lot of places. Walking in the door, like, hey, this place holds this ideal. You know that. And you also know like, to the extent that I work here, I can change some of that. But the flip side of that is that you also come to find out after a time how much you cannot change. And at that point, you are making a choice to go into a workplace that you know and you've tested and you understand contributes to things that you disagree with or don't believe in. And I also wish that like in the same way that we vote with our wallets, we could vote with our work situations. Now, not everyone can do that. Obviously, that's a place of great privilege to be able to say like, fuck you guys, I'm not working here anymore because I don't agree with the way that you're dealing with XYZ. But I think that's a really real dynamic that has worked in the past, and that could work again in the future if we're able to sort of commit to doing that on a wider scale. Well,
and that's something too, I think, like, so the Blizzard employees were protesting this, And I think that says something too, where if your employees also know you're doing something wrong, to then double down on it, which is what Blizzard did. I don't know if anyone, like a year later, a year or so later, or a month later, maybe, I don't remember. They basically said, you know, are you going to do anything about this in an interview? Someone asked. And the company defended its decision. I have a little quote here actually from them saying, the company defended its decision to ban Wei Chung, saying it was because he used a Blizzard platform in the form of a post-game telecast for an Asian Pacific Hearthstone tournament to promote a political ideology, which is what their stance is on why they did it. It's not because they didn't want to lose money in China. That's how they're defending themselves, right? But I would argue it's not a political ideology. It's a humanity kind of thing. But whatever, I digress. This is what they said in quotes. The specific views expressed by Blitzchung were not a factor in the decision we made. I want to be clear. Our relationship in China had no influence on our decision. We have these rules to keep the focus on the game and the tournament to benefit a global audience, and that was the only consideration in the actions we took. If this had been an opposing viewpoint delivered in the same divisive and deliberate way, we would have felt and acted the same, he continued. So that was their ultimate stance on it, and I just feel so icky about it.
What is interesting to me is we see like a similar dynamic here as was happening with Colin Kaepernick when he was kneeling at football games, right? Where people were like, oh, keep politics out of sports. I just want to go see sports,
right?
To do sports things. But and a lot of people saw that and said, like, hey, I don't think this is right. He's being disrespectful. He's kneeling during that, which I don't agree with, to be perfectly clear. I think that's bullshit. And the reason I think that's bullshit is a lot of those same people look back on the I'm going to get the year wrong, the 1964, 1968 Olympics, where, oh gosh, what's the guy's name? Help me, friends, with the fist in the air. And we,
but I don't know his name.
We look, somebody look it up and help me.
Yeah.
But we look back at that moment, we're like, oh, what a strong moment. Someone like really, you know, standing up for civil rights, someone really standing up for the fact that they've been discriminated against. And we can't apply that same logic for some reason to the current moment. And I really don't fucking get that. Like, that is crazy that we can hold that moment in our heads and be like, yay. And then look at Colin Kaepernick and be like, how dare he ruin my Sunday night football?
Tommy Smith and John Carlos.
That was John Carlos and Tommy Smith.
Thank you.
In 1968 Olympics.
But I think that's just it. And it speaks to where everyone is currently, is like, it's all privilege. It's privilege that you can separate sports from those situations. But there are people who live that every day, and it's a factor in their life when they wake up and breathe, let alone play a game, you know, and they just want to get people to understand and empathize and see it and understand they're a human being, not just a football player, not just a whatever. They have these experiences they're living through every day of their life, and no one cares. You know, and that's kind of, you know, where they're coming from when they do these things, and people see it as, you know, a politic or like these other things, when that's not it. Like, this is their life. And just because you haven't had those experiences, great on you. What a privileged existence you have. And that hurts people to hear, but that's the truth. Like, there are people in China who are just like scared about surviving and scared about losing this democracy that they have. And they just want to scream about it. And I don't know. I think it's crazy to call that a politic rather than the need to exist. And
yeah,
basic human rights, guys. Basic human rights. That's all.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that, like, a lot of times I really feel like companies miss an opportunity here. Like, imagine if Blizzard, instead of doing what they did, instead said like, oh, actually, what a brave thing to do. We support you.
Exactly.
Not only is everyone who believes in like democracy and freedom in America going to be like, fuck yeah, like, let's go. Everyone in China who holds those same ideals, and I think there are far more people in China who hold those ideals than China would like us to think.
Right. Yeah. And also the world.
Because they hide it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And there are far more people in China who like are pretty damn good at using VPNs that would be like, yeah, okay, I'll buy your shit. You know what I mean? I will buy twice as much because you're going to be, someone who's at least willing to like lend support in terms of like, we're not going to shut this person down. Like what an opportunity. And they just keep blowing it.
Right. And I think for me, and this is me personally, the way I view this is Blizzard penalizing this player, penalizing other players for exercising their right of freedom of expression as an American company. They lack just as much respect for me as a consumer. And that's why I won't give them my money, because they need to demonstrate human rights for all of its users, in my opinion.
And I think that's a fair assessment. A regular Dan thinks that.
Oh, look, you took off the tie. That's so much better.
I just, because it's yes, like that's the like world that we all want to. Sorry to say it like this, but we want to believe that we exist in.
No, we don't
like,
exist in, for sure. I agree.
Yeah, because it's like we want to believe that like human rights and all of these things are important to companies and to like things that one. But business Dan attire, it's if it hurts the bottom line in any way for any reason, or if we think it's going to, then the company isn't going to do it. Not even a little bit.
Right. And
that's really sad.
And that's the thing that makes Allison want to stab Blizzard with a knife. Can I say that on air?
You can, because Blizzard's
they're
a
not
company.
A person. Yeah.
No, you need to phrase it like that. I'm still business Dan. Phrase it like this. You feel like you would like to stab Blizzard with a knife. You're not going to do it.
How about this? Ready? Allison would like to stab Blizzard with a knife, allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
No. See, still, you can't say it yourself that way. You have to say, I, Allison, would never do this in real life, yet I feel as though I may desire to stab Blizzard with a knife.
Look, I'm unapologetic. And here's the thing. I definitely would not, there's winks happening, stab Blizzard with a knife.
It's an audio medium.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a very thorough Blizzard rant. We should probably
That's all we have time
there?
for. Yeah. Sorry, Allison went on a tangent. This is what happens, and this is why
that
I
was
don't do
great.
it.
More rants.
That was a lot of fun.
Rants where that
Business Dan came out. I haven't gotten to wear that suit in a long time, so
it's awful. Burn it.
I can't because then we wouldn't have Business Dan.
It's awful. Burn it.
He's important to have as a devil's advocate.
He is
literally
important to have. I appreciate his presence. All right. Well, if you want to hear Allison rant about anything else, let us know in the Discord. Do you got to talk about the thing?
Yes. So
okay, go.
Also, if you're hearing this episode,
it's too late.
It's already this has already happened, and you missed it.
Yeah. So why are we talking about it?
You can still go to Twitch. You can go to our Twitch because it's saved there, and we're going to post it. On Thursday, July 22nd, we recorded a live table read of the Notebook movie.
Hope you were there.
And holy shit, it was awesome.
It was so good.
I'm sure it was hilarious. If you were
Allison
there,
did
thank
the
you.
Robot. It was real weird. It had nothing to do with the plot.
I guess I'm the director, so I guess we're gonna have to put a robot in it somewhere. But if you were there, thank you for being there. If you're not, go to our Twitch and watch it because I'm sure it was hilarious. Put it on the background. It's a fun time.
It's the best version of the Notebook on the internet.
Honestly,
for sure.
I can guarantee that because I fell asleep when I tried to watch it. So.
All right. If you want to hear Allison rant about anything else, you can ask her to on our Discord at bit.ly/discobrew. Otherwise, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Game Brew, or you can go to our website at thegamebrew.com. Thanks for listening. That's it for us this week. Say buenos noches, everybody.
Buenos noches.
Buenos noches.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
You didn't say it, you butthole. All right. Oh, hey. I forgot. I was going to talk about a game before that I forgot to talk about.
Yeah, don't talk about it.
Well, it's too late.
Well, it's too late? All right, that's fine.
Okay, Allison. All right.
Time Mistress. Boom.
Woo.
That's fine. I'll talk about it next week.
So you made Dan sad.